Chapter 37.1 St. Yu's Peekaboo. According to the middle schoolers, this was the final album by a famous girl idol group that made a grand comeback a few years ago after a long hiatus. The song was upbeat, addictive, and cheerful, lingering on the music charts for a long time. Now that very song echoed through the dark, fog-filled forest, accompanied by clapping hands in rhythm. Clap. My sharp gaze catches you in an instant, but I don't plan to make the first move. I'll wait patiently, pretending I'm not interested until you approach. 'Cause predators never move first. Even the adults clumsily joined in, trying their best to sing along. Clap. All right, get ready. I'm the elegant tiger waiting for you to come closer, peekaboo. The lively, energetic melody continued. Maybe because everyone was singing together, the kids' expressions began to relax and their voices grew stronger. Peekaboo, here I come, so get ready. I'm the tiger. My eyes sparkle even in the dark. Walk along the path while offering the song, with the sacrifice at the back of the line. But at the end of the line, instead of a person, a tiny purple wild ginseng dangled like a little bundle, swinging as it hung from a stick. The security sergeant held the stick over his shoulder as if it were a garbage bag, with the ginseng swaying at the back. Gosianha kept glancing at it suspiciously from the side, but the ginseng itself seemed to be enjoying the song, humming along cheerfully. Peekaboo, I'll entrance you, make you lose your mind. Peekaboo, so get ready. Clap. I signaled for everyone to stop. The 30th step. The group paused, then awkwardly bowed deeply before standing back up. The song continued. Peekaboo. The narrow path gradually leveled out, making it easier to walk. When the song ends, so does the path. When you find a small snake hole in a place with no grass, express gratitude for Sangunnim's mercy and reach inside. Make sure your hand is covered in the well water mixed with salt. By the time we reached the final chorus of the second verse, the surroundings began to change. The trees that had been packed so densely were thinning, and the fog grew even thicker. Everyone sensed it instinctively. We're almost there. The expressions on their faces were a mix of tension, anticipation, and caution. But they remained calm, singing the song to the very end. Peekaboo, so get ready. Clap. And with that final line, now I'm coming closer. Our footsteps halted. The path had ended. Ahead, the narrow trail opened into a wide clearing. There are no trees. Our steps quickened, and through the thick fog, the final result of the ritual appeared before us. Now the snake hole should be. It was a massive reservoir. What is this? An expanse of dark water stretched before us, the fog endlessly rolling over its surface. The group halted, faces filled with confusion and terror, as if they couldn't comprehend what had just happened. There was supposed to be a snake hole, but what is this? What was going on? What went wrong? I looked at the ginseng the security sergeant was carrying. It was still there, perfectly intact. It should have disappeared, right? Gosianha, her face pale with fear, murmured. Water ghost. The words I'd heard a few hours ago rushed back to mind. The Changui are ghosts cursed by tigers and bound to serve them, but, historically, the term also referred to water ghosts. It was a trap. The ritual itself was a trap. We were lured by the water spirit. We were all led here, right to the reservoir. Section Chief Lee screamed, stumbling backward as he tried to run, only to trip. The children began to whimper, clutching onto each other and screaming in panic. I felt a chill down my spine, nearly falling to my knees. It was like being in the final scene of a horror movie, where every character faces impending doom. Are we really going to die here? No, no. At the very least, I needed to understand why. I couldn't think of any mistake we'd made within the information we'd been given. Even considering every exploration log I'd read from nothing indicated we'd gone wrong. A sense of frustrated disbelief overtook my fear. Gosianha's panicked voice echoed in my ears. Turn around, let's run back to the abandoned house. Wait, hold on a second. I turned to Gosianha. Do you know something? What? The abandoned house is a trap too. What? Think about it, isn't it strange? Slowly, I pointed out the intended contradiction of this ghost story. It's strange, don't you think? We're lured into this place by the Changui, yet we're supposed to feel safe in an abandoned house with protective talismans that supposedly keep the Changui out. And that same house just happens to contain a ritual for escaping, conveniently spelled out for us. This was exactly why interpretations of this abandoned house were split in the wiki's comment section, but I was almost certain now. This story was designed from the start to slowly drain people's sanity. The intended reasoning went like this. They lock people up in this abandoned house during the full moon, pushing them to their limits and weakening their spirits. It dangles the hope of a ritual in front of them, leading people to endure a state of mental breakdown while clinging to that hope. That makes it easier to lure people in. And the most decisive part, if they make a mistake during the ritual, all the better, but even if they don't, it doesn't matter. I looked at the wild ginseng. The process of choosing a sacrifice is bound to create conflict, leading to at least one dropout. They're guaranteed to claim a sacrifice. Of course, the ritual is real. That way, people are more desperate to cling to it. After all, this is You can't just throw in too many convenient plot devices. It breaks immersion and ruins the suspense. The ritual itself has to be genuine. That's why I had full confidence in performing it, but that only raises more questions. Read a lot of ghost stories. In fact, I've read every single ghost story uploaded to Some were hard to get through, but reading them became part of my daily routine at work, so I've read them multiple times. In the process, I picked up a few bits of obscure knowledge. Here's an example. Peach branches are commonly known to ward off spirits. And plums are a favorite fruit of the Changui. That's probably why both of these materials were required. Lure the Changui to the shrine, and while it's there, the person conducting the ritual uses the peach incense to escape. I looked up. But then, isn't it odd that someone here seemed uncomfortable with the peach incense and overly drawn to the plum? Among 7 people, only one kept staying close to the security sergeant at the back of the group, as if wanting to keep as far away from the peach incense as possible. Gosian SSI. I looked directly at her. Are you sure you're speaking of your own will? What are you implying? It's possible that the real Gosianha may have failed the ritual in the shrine long before she ever met us. Isn't it actually the Changui that's speaking to us through you right now, Gosianha SSI? The group froze. You figured it out. Gosianha's mouth stretched into a grotesque grin. But it's too late, too late. Her arms began to elongate, reaching out toward me with a strange fluidity, trying to grab and pull me closer. ACK. I rolled to the ground, dodging her outstretched arms. Behind me, the screams of Section Chief Lee and the children echoed in terror. Ghost. Instinctively, I pulled a knife from my front pocket. This isn't a full Changui, it's a person possessed by one, which means I might be able to subdue her. But I realized something. I can't get close enough to use it. With a short-range weapon like this, I'd have to get right up to a possessed person's face. I already feel like I'm about to faint. But my brain, running on adrenaline, instantly found the right person for the job. Sergeant. I tossed the weapon toward the figure standing behind me. Please subdue her. Whoosh. The blood-sucking knife cut through the air. La. The security sergeant caught the knife, and after a brief glance, immediately lunged at the Changui-possessed person. Hihiti. Gosianha's face and arms twisted into a bizarre, hideous form, sprouting the distorted features of countless men, women, and children, arms, faces, strands of hair, and eyes pointing in all directions. Please, please help me. Yika. Get back and close your eyes. Section Chief Lee scrambled backward with the children, huddling on the mountain path. Can you hear me? Somebody help me. At that moment, the security sergeant's appearance started to distort too. A monstrous form. His once slender upper body swelled to an enormous size, his mouth extending into a snout with a tongue that lashed out, brutally snapping the Changui's long arms. Aog. No, it was an illusion. The security sergeant looked just like a regular human. But then again, he seemed like some monstrous creature. Wow, this is insane. I managed to shift my focus. The reason the security team was so adept at handling the darkness. And the reason they weren't part of the field investigation team. It was becoming clear right in front of me. == Security team. One of the 3 teams under the security division of Daydream Inc., a major department featured in the. This team is comprised of employees who have been so heavily tainted by certain anomalies that they are no longer classified as human. Employment is for life, and resignation is impossible. == Did you know? If you're no longer classified as human, even if you clear a ghost story, the dream essence collector won't be filled. There's no investigative value in it. That's why people who have practically merged with ghost stories, becoming almost monstrous themselves, were assigned to the security team. Especially those affected by particularly violent or territorial ghost stories. It hurts. They're assigned to the security team to handle significant issues with company-managed darkness. And if he's the sergeant of that team, he's no different. In short, he's an employee specialized in confronting the monsters within these ghost stories. Gaela. The Changui's many arms were torn apart by the sergeant's jaws, claws, and teeth, stretching from his maw like a monstrous, serpentine tongue. Drooling saliva and blood dripped from the mouth that had transformed into a wolf-like snout lined with countless fangs. The illusion flickered in and out of my vision. Wolf. For a brief moment, I saw the illusion of countless teeth in his elongated jaw, dripping with saliva and blood before it vanished. A wave of dizziness and nausea washed over me, and I quickly averted my gaze to the ground. This feels like a nightmare. I began to understand why the security team always evacuated people when they subdued ghost stories in the. Despite the risks, things were progressing smoothly. Keep your eyes closed. I urged the others as I kept my gaze down, bracing myself. Then, in the next moment, "Oh, Mr. Roe dear, it seems that peculiar guest you brought one." It was over. When I looked up, the Changui lay on the ground, the blood-sucking knife embedded in its right hand. Standing over it was the distorted, monstrous form of the security sergeant, gripping its head tightly. Good riddance, a brute right to the core. If this had been my show, I'd never let it on as a guest. I'd never been so grateful that only I could hear Braun's voice. I mustered a calm voice and addressed the sergeant, who was still gripping Gosianha's head. "Thank you, Sergeant." "Urg." He says he's tired. How rude. You're scarier for translating that monstrous growl. But then, at that moment, a faint, muffled sound came from under the sergeant's hand. It was a human voice. "W8, please." Somehow, Gosianha's face had returned to normal, her expression one of pure terror as she moaned weakly. "Please help me save. Leave this child here." Her eyes rolled back, and the Changui's voice took over again. "Only you need to die him, right? You deserve to die. You killed people. You tried to kill the children. I know everything. You deserve to die." Gosianha struggled. "No, no. Just leave her behind. Leave her, yes, HMMM. Please save me, save me. Ah." At that moment, "Tell me," the sergeant's voice, now sounding human, asked, "did you formally request emergency rescue from?" I couldn't see his face beneath the monstrous form, but his voice clearly posed the question directly to Gosianha. "This is an official request requiring a signed contract. Isn't that right?" Something about it felt off. Gosianha, dazed, looked up, then seemed to snap back, responding in a desperate tone. "Right. Wait. No, it isn't." I intervened, forcing the words out. "This darkness isn't under Daydream Inc.'s jurisdiction. We didn't enter to rescue civilians, and more than that, there was mutual assistance on both sides." Weird." The sergeant's voice dropped, dangerously low and growling. "Wasn't she trying to prevent us from escaping?" Gasp. "That doesn't matter, sir. In the end, she helped us." I spoke firmly. "Which makes this cooperation." The sergeant stared at me, then looked down at Gosianha. Is that so?" "Maybe that's correct." SRRRK. His voice relaxed, falling back to its usual tone of casual indifference. "Who?" I'd intervened because something felt off, and it seemed I'd made the right call. "It's best not to get entangled with Daydream Inc., especially to end up indebted to them. Just the thought gave me a terrible feeling." "And so what should we do now?" "One moment, please." I approached Section Chief Lee Byongjin, who was standing back with his eyes closed, holding onto the kids. He flinched at the sound of my footsteps. "Eek, are you here to take me instead?" "The incense burner." "Hand it over." I took the incense burner from him. Although the peach incense had already burned away, the ashes remained intact inside. The Changui didn't like the peach branches. "If that's the case." I poured the ashes over Gosianha's shoulder. Sizzle. Though the ashes weren't especially hot, the smell of burning and salt filled the air as smoke rose from her shoulder. "I won't go, I won't, I'll cling on again, I'll cling on, Ajog." I poured the remaining ashes over her head. Her body, possessed by the Changui, convulsed wildly, and then gasp. Her eyes flew open, filled with clarity and relief. It was Gosianha. "I am okay now, I think I'm fine." "No, you're not." "Excuse me. This is a place we were lured into by the Changui, so there's a chance it could come back for you any time. Then. Let's make sure it can't possess you again, just in case." I had brought an extra pack of the apple juice with me. I handed the sealed pack to Gosianha. "Drink it all at once." I insisted, and although she looked confused, she reluctantly took it and began gulping down the juice while lying subdued on the ground. And a moment later, she slumped over, falling into a deep sleep like the ginseng. "Phew. At least that's taken care of. You can let go now." The security sergeant released his grip and with a faintly amused voice asked, "Thinking of switching departments?" "No, thank you, sir. Please spare me." After thanking the security sergeant once again, who had thankfully returned to a more human appearance, I went over to check on Section Chief Lee and the kids, who were still tightly shutting their eyes. "You can open your eyes now, it's safe." Ah! Relief washed over Section Chief Lee's face, but he quickly shot a worried glance at the kids and whispered to me with a desperate expression. "But now what? How are we supposed to find the way out?" "Dawn is almost here." I looked up at the sky. Through the hazy fog, it seemed like a faint light was beginning to filter through. The full moon was nearly setting. There's no time to redo the ritual. But we'll be fine. What? I believe we succeeded in at least half of the ritual. I remembered how the path changed with each step as we sang, and how the incense burned properly. Everything we prepared was correct. The ritual, strictly speaking, had two purposes: to avoid the Changui, and to seek an escape route by appealing to Sangun Nim. It seems we fulfilled the second purpose, while the first purpose failed due to the Changui's possession of one of our group members, bringing us close to the water's edge. Maybe there's an exit somewhere nearby. We clustered together and began searching in the dense fog, moving away from the water's edge toward the open clearing closer to the mountain. We searched around where the ritual path had ended. If you find a small snake hole in a place with no grass, express gratitude for Sangun Nim's mercy and reach inside. Make sure your hand is coated in well water mixed with salt. A place with no grass, a place with no grass. And then, a few moments later, I found it. One of the middle schoolers spotted a small hole under a tree. A shaft of moonlight pierced through the fog, shining directly onto the dark hole, as black as ink. The snake hole. I quickly had everyone dip their hands in the salt water, not caring about the fear or hesitation that gripped us. Hurry, hurry. Just before dawn, we each reached our hands into the snake hole. The first thing I felt was dampness. Squelch. As I reached into the snake hole with my saltwater-soaked hand, a peculiar coldness, like submerging my hand in ink, washed over me. Then I was pulled in. The suction that began at my hand soon engulfed my entire body. I can't breathe. It felt like wet paper was wrapping tightly around my whole body, suffocating me. My vision spun, dark and dizzy, until finally. Gasp. With a sudden gasp, I was able to breathe again, as if emerging into cool air. I opened my eyes. Instead of stars, the neon lights of a provincial city stretched out before me, twinkling against the autumn night of Korea. I survived. I was back in reality. Who? I tried to stand, but my legs were shaking so badly that I almost fell. Dark red ink was dripping from my feet, trailing onto the ground. Following the ink trail with my gaze, I saw an old piece of hanji paper with a faded ink wash painting smeared and blurred, lying on the ground. It was as if, after countless years, the image had faded entirely, and new ink had been splashed over it, leaving barely any recognizable shape. That must have been one of those cursed paintings, connecting to that insane mountain. Shuddering, I quickly tore my gaze away and turned to check on the others scattered on the ground. 1, 2, 3, 7, everyone was here. It seemed the painting had spit them out right after me. Gathi, are you all right? Oh, hi, we're outside. Section Chief Lee Byongjin looked around, then yelled out in shock. Haha, we made it, we're alive. Then, filled with relief and gratitude, he turned to me and bowed deeply. Thank you for saving us. You saved yourself, Section Chief. You were the one who carried out the ritual after all. Haha, so immodest, I'm ashamed. Section Chief Lee bowed again, looking rather moved. I figured it was best to let him believe it was humility rather than flattery. Oh well. The next ones to come to their senses were the middle schoolers. As I helped them get their bearings, I listened to their surprised chatter. "This place, it's where you were supposed to stay on your school trip." Yes. Now that I looked around, it did resemble the description they'd given of the gazebo behind our lodging. So we all got spit out here. It was lucky we didn't wake up in that strange office in the basement of the company. I reassured the kids who were hugging each other in relief, crying, and ready to run straight down the mountain. Be careful where you step. When you get down, find an adult and call your parents, all right? But the kids looked nervous, hesitant to leave. "Aren't you coming with us?" Well, they had a point. Whether I was treated as a hero for rescuing them or mistaken for a kidnapper, if I went to the police, the company probably wouldn't be thrilled. As long as the kids get back safely, that's what matters. I slowly shook my head. "We need to go somewhere else. You just keep going straight down and don't look back. Just in case you trip." "Okay." The kids seemed to muster some resolve, nodding with determined faces, and carefully started down the mountain, relying on each other for support. Good. Since it was a well-maintained path on a shallow mountain, it would only take them about 5 minutes to get down. As I watched them go, ensuring they were safe, I felt a tap on my shoulder. "Excuse me." It was the security sergeant, who had already gotten to his feet and was slightly swaying as he held out the stick with the greenish wild ginseng still attached. "Hey kid, take this." "Oh." The sergeant held out the stick with the unconscious wild ginseng dangling from it. "I mean, we could have just left it there." Still, I took the ginseng without protest. The sergeant turned and started walking away, trudging off with heavy steps. "Where are you headed?" "The office still on duty." But we're in Jeonju right now." TN. A KTX ride from Jeonju to Seoul is about 2 hours and 40 minutes, while a bus ride would be about 4 to 5 hours. By the time he gets back, his shift would probably be over anyway. In any case, I followed him since I also needed to get back to Seoul, carrying Go Seonha, the exhausted university student, slung over my shoulder. I'll drop her off in front of the police station on the way. Then, at that moment, both security team officers need to return quickly. I'll follow along then. Haha, isn't it only right for me to accompany you as the missing person you found? Let's go together." I glanced at Section Chief Lee Byung-jin, who was scrambling to catch up, looking every bit like a sycophant afraid to lose his backup. Well, now that we'd escaped, maybe it was time for him to know the truth. "And after everything's settled, I'll stop by your department to properly thank you too." "Haha, where exactly does the security team work?" "No. Even if you come to the security team, you won't be able to meet me." "I'm with the field exploration team." A heavy silence followed. "But your clothes, you're in a security team uniform." "It was just lent to me." With that comment from the security sergeant, Section Chief Lee's face became a mix of confusion, and then, after a moment, he seemed to piece things together in his mind. I see so, but you don't seem familiar. Don't you get administrative support? Maybe you're in a special team, and that's why you're in the security uniform." "I'm a new hire, sir." "The D-Squad's rookie." What happened afterward was handled fairly quickly. All the way from Jeonju back to the company, Section Chief Lee kept muttering lies under his breath. However, when he reached the office and verified my personnel records, he was left in stunned silence. But surprisingly, he didn't immediately change his demeanor. Why not, though? I thought he'd immediately dismiss me as a newbie in the lowly field exploration team, but instead, he continued to behave respectfully, although he did make some effort to act more casually, dropping a bit of the formality. Ooh, solium SSI, did you hear? The kids and the university student, they got home safely. A few days later, he informed me that the survivors from our escape had been registered as civilian survivors at. They probably received a decent amount as compensation for their information too. In a way, it's ironic how it really turned out to be a stroke of fortune for them. Yeah, life can be funny, right? And ironically, it was good fortune for me as well. So anyway, Solium SSI, from now on, you can just count on me. Yes, sir. Haha, sir. Section Chief Lee quickly pushed through my manual evaluation process. Only for me, though. Is it really okay for him to act like this after taking an unauthorized week off? Well, it was a good outcome for me. The scroll that served as a portal for the Sangun Nim ghost story was swiftly collected by as a darkness under its jurisdiction, and my unique method of escape was officially accepted as a new procedure in the manual. Even my previously pending application under A-Squad for a manual revision was quickly approved. The balance in my bank account now read, Manual Revision Bonus, 100 million. Insane. It was a staggering amount, enough to make my hands tremble. Now that 2 manual revisions had been approved, this unexpected sum appeared in my banking app. Even though it was a cash payment rather than the standard points allocation, this amount was certainly enough to make anyone do a double take. Maybe I should take advantage of this friendly manual evaluator and tackle as many new darknesses as possible. But venturing out alone to encounter various ghosts and monsters was a daunting thought, so for now, I should put this 100 million to good use. Where would be the best place to spend it? I already knew where a portion of it was going. About 30% had been allocated to the source of this whole ordeal. Congratulations, Braun. Ooh. Bloodbath Dub, 29,990,9,999. Equals 29,990,9,999. Purchase complete. Fortunately, the Bloodbath Tub was still available in the alien shop, so I could fulfill the promise I made to my animated plush friend. I wonder if it'll come by rocket delivery this time too. I recalled the postal service box that had mysteriously materialized in midair last time. As far as I knew, the Bloodbath Tub was a large, 4-legged tub, about the size of a typical household bathtub, with decorative gold legs that gave it an elegant look. But imagining it landing in my small studio unit. Maybe I should order it from the bathroom. In any case, I decided to push my bed and desk aside to clear space, then press the order button right here. There just wasn't enough room in the bathroom. All right, time to place the order. Exciting, my heart is pounding with anticipation. In the dimly lit room, with only a flashlight as illumination, I finally clicked the order button, carrying on a conversation with a small little plushie that, of course, had no heart to pound with excitement. SSSHHK. Just like the previous times, the space seemed to tear open, and my anticipation grew. But the tear was smaller than expected. With a soft plop, a package fell out. It was also small. I opened the postal box, which was barely a quarter of the size I expected, and found the product packaging inside. Bathtub of Youth, Foot Massage Edition. So that's why it was so cheap. Come to think of it, since it was a ghost story item from a home shopping creepypasta, it probably had a variety of editions and versions. Although, as far as I knew, most versions were just fun variations with little functional difference, except for a few rare ones. I never thought they'd make a footbath version, though. It came with a gold embossed sticker and a warranty certificate, hinting that it was some sort of special edition. 10-year free AS warranty. Utterly pointless. Who's going to request customer service on something like this? But I decided to open it anyway. There were no records in the of anyone touching a blood bathtub and having their blood involuntarily drained after all. Inside, packed in a box as elegantly wrapped as a luxury item, lay the object itself. The bathtub of use, also known as the blood bathtub. It was a glossy, black and white checkered tub that appeared to be made of shimmering ceramic. Its elegant curves were supported by golden, feline-shaped legs, giving it a refined look. It's quite impressive, if you ignore the fact that it was a footbath. Someone with just the right size to fit in it, however, was evidently thrilled. "Mr. Roe, dear, please put me in there, with some bath salts." "Wait, if it's a blood bath then? You mean you want my blood as the bath salt?" "Precisely. How perceptive of you, Mr. Roe, dear." This crazy little. For a brief moment, I wavered between reasoning with him or bolting out the door. "Haha, I'm joking, friend." With no audience or cameras here, I'd never make such a demanding request of a friend. But what about if there was an audience and cameras? I kept that thought to myself. Desperate people have to bite their tongues sometimes. Still, I couldn't resist saying one thing. "Please, no more jokes like that. They're not funny, they're terrifying." I understand. Humor is a cultural delicacy, and it's always important to handle it carefully. This is what carefully handled looks like. Anyway, back to the main point. There's already a perfectly suitable alternative for bath salts in this space, isn't there? Let's see if our Mr. Roe dear can figure out what it is. Something in my place, I glanced around. He couldn't possibly mean Sahian, the guy in the next room. No, let's not even consider that. I tried to think of other options. Then, my eyes landed on something that had been sitting on the corner of my desk for the past few days. Reluctantly, I pointed at it. This wild ginseng. Excellent. Yes, it was the corrupted, purple wild ginseng I had unknowingly taken from the Sangun Nim ghost story. I guess you could call it sap, or maybe something more like blood did seem to flow through it. But for days now, it had just looked like a regular wild ginseng with an odd purple hue. My plan was to feed it more apple juice if it ever woke up, and if that didn't work, just donate it to the company. But surprisingly, it hadn't stirred at all. All that tension waiting for it to wake up at sunrise that day was pretty pointless. Braun had even commented, "I doubt it will ever wake up again. After all, weaker creatures tend to play dead when they sense danger, do they not? Maybe getting pulled into the real world from the Changuis, Sangun Nim's burial grounds had traumatized it. Anyways, friend, if it concerns you, I'll keep an eye on it." And so far, there hadn't been a single problem. So, was he suggesting I use this ginseng? That could work. Without any supernatural possession, it was just a juicy piece of ginseng. Besides, I was genuinely curious to see the blood bathtub in action. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it? I had some curiosity of my own, which is probably why I sometimes snuck peeks at the Creepypasta wiki during work breaks. There aren't many creepypastas I can safely observe, even if just in images. Using ginseng juice instead of blood could be a unique opportunity. Ooh. I grabbed a pair of rubber gloves and scissors from the kitchen. The plush monster beneath my bed spoke in a low, excited voice. "Now place me in the bath, please." Wait. There was something I needed to clarify. This bath is for rejuvenation. Do you really need to be rejuvenated? I mean, you look young enough. I wanted to point out the absurdity of a plushie needing such a concept, but held back. Braun, however, let out a hearty laugh, crisp as if it were a pre-recorded sound effect. "Ha ha ha, you're seeing the concept of rejuvenation too narrowly, my friend. Don't worry, you've got a fine conversationalist here to explain." In fact, rejuvenation means the return of spring in Hanya. In other words, it means to regain the prowess of one's prime. For some reason, I'm feeling rather heavy and unbalanced these days, so this bath is exactly what I need. But you're a stuffed toy. And the tub's description clearly said it was good for healing wounds, recovering energy, treating arthritis, and enhancing skin health. I don't know anymore. If he insists this much. In the creepypastas I've read, there wasn't really a case where a plush doll with a friendly spirit would turn on you after being treated well. The disasters always happened when they were mistreated. I decided to stop overthinking it. It was unnecessarily scary. With rubber gloves on, I held scissors in one hand and the wild ginseng in the other. Let's try it out. And with that, I reached for the bloodbath tub. I took a deep breath and recalled the instructions for the bloodbath tub. First, fill the tub with warm water. 1. Add clean water to the tub as much as you like. Bathtub of Youth, Foot Massage Edition, is a product that does not support automatic water filling. As instructed, I poured enough warm water from the sink into the tub to submerge a plush doll. Then, this is where the main process begins. 2. Once the water is filled to the desired level, pour at least 200 ml of fresh blood over it. The fresher the blood, especially from a healthy and lively subject, the better the effects. The very idea that such nonsense was written in a polite and friendly font seemed absurd, but thankfully I had a substitute. I lifted the wild ginseng. With scissors, I cut off one of the medium-sized outer roots. Thus, dark purple sap, nauseating to look at, oozed from the severed root. I was immensely grateful for the rubber gloves I wore. Careful not to touch the sap, I placed the severed root against the edge of the bloodbath tub. And then a remarkable sight unfolded. Bubble, bubble. The sap that touched the water began to froth, releasing a fantastic aroma. The nauseating, dark purple sap transformed into a rich, beautiful, rose-colored cream that shimmered brilliantly. It was bizarre and mesmerizing. The luxurious and inviting bathwater that anyone would be tempted to step into was now prepared. 3. Submerge your body entirely in the bathwater and enjoy the experience. The Foot Massage Edition also restores vitality to the entire body. An eager voice came from beneath the dark bed. At last. The laughter of the plush doll. Ah, there's no need to carry me, Mr. Roe dear. Just don't turn around. I froze on the spot. Behind me I heard a sound. Thumping, thumping, thumping. The sound of footsteps. No, was it the plush doll? The sound resembled a man's heavy, rhythmic leather shoes, slightly lively yet weighty. It passed right behind me and stopped. Then came the sound of something splashing into the tub. You may look now. I turned my head. The plush doll, soaked in the bathwater in the small tub, floated there with its unchanged, smiling mascot-like face. Brawn. There was no response. Of course, there wouldn't be. Talking face-to-face with a plush doll wasn't something possible in reality. But I knew it was listening. Well, I'll clean up the wild ginseng for now. Enjoy your bath. I placed the wild ginseng, which had stopped oozing sap, back on the desk and turned to look at the tub, recalling the records of those who had used the bloodbath tub. Usage record 5. In the process of cleaning up the remnants of a bath bomb of a tenant, a half-Caucasian man in his 20s, the landlord, a man in his 40s, inevitably dipped his hand into the bathwater left behind. This lasted for about 30 seconds before he emptied the tub. Immediately, the skin and muscle tissues of his hand regressed to the condition of his mid-30s. Signs of vitality were observed throughout his body. That same night, he attempted to flee with the bloodbath tub in his car, but was apprehended. Equals. Nothing like that seemed to be happening here. Maybe it doesn't work on dolls after all. I should grab a towel. As I turned toward the dresser. Ooh! A voice. I turned my head. From the seemingly empty tub, faint sparks crackled like an old TV screen short-circuiting. Light is entering my powerless limbs. Flash! The shadow of the plush doll loomed large over the tub as its small arms were raised triumphantly. What was that? Mr. Roe, dear. Don't call me. This is such a fascinating artifact. Ha 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 ha. I swallowed nervously as I watched. Could he really be regaining power? There was no record of the bloodbathtub's rejuvenation effects extending this far. This was unprecedented. More bath salts, pour in more. Bath salts. Without thinking, I grabbed the wild ginseng from the desk. This punk, don't grab the wild ginseng. Mercy, noble one, spare me, please spare me. Fucking hell. Startled, I reflexively threw the wild ginseng. Thunk. The wild ginseng landed straight into the bloodbathtub. It seemed to realize that its sap was being transformed into fragrant bathwater and let out a desperate scream. But that was all. The wild ginseng didn't seem capable of causing trouble as before. Whether the bathtub's mysterious power was suppressing it or Braun had done something, I couldn't tell. A desperate cry echoed. Please spare me, noble one, I was wrong. I'll do my best, I'll serve you. How rude and noisy. More sparks crackled from the bloodbathtub. It resembled a TV screen with its signals scrambled. From within, the booming voice of an irate announcer rang out. Slice its neck, friend. Silence it, don't ruin this scene. I straightened up. Without looking into the tub, I said, You don't have to go that far to quiet it down. There's no need for such extreme methods. In a show, a single moment or timing can dictate all the reactions and feelings. But this isn't a show, is it? That is. The electricity sparking from the tub began to subside. You're right, yes, that's true. Phew. I almost ended up registering this under the bloodbathtub's irregular usage records. Not that the situation wasn't already ridiculous. From inside the tub came a pitiful, sobbing voice. Thank you, Savior. Kind benefactor, please, now get me out of here and save me from this ruthless monster's hands. I crossed my arms. I never said I'd save you. Who ends up as the victim in the middle of a ghost story? It's always the kind-hearted person who lets their guard down at moments like this. When a ghost starts crying and you get soft-hearted, that's exactly when something scary happens. At times like this, you must stay calm and act firmly. I stared at the wild ginseng abandoned in the tub, past the ceramic edge. If I save you, how do I know you won't cause trouble? A sobbing sound followed. Then in that case, how about this, a field? I'll tell you about the rare treasures around the field where I lived. I don't need it. It was bound to be some cursed, haunted item anyway. Then. I sighed. Just prove you won't harm anyone. Stay quiet. The wild ginseng fell silent. At least I'd bought some time. A few minutes passed in a tense silence, though possibly enjoyable for Braun. 10 minutes. That's how long I had been keeping track when. That was a fine bath. Is it over? I was about to turn my head, thinking I might need to lift Braun out of the tub. Ah, splendid. Thank you, Mr. Roe, dear. The plush doll's voice had turned sly. For waiting until my bath was finished. Bang! Gaya! A thunderous noise and a scream erupted from the tub. This insane. Wait a moment. Friend, don't move. If anyone sees this plush body stuffed with cotton, I'll die of embarrassment. You promised to save me, you promised. Ha ha, but Mr. Roe Deer said he never made such a promise. Wait. I finally ran to the tub. I thought I heard someone clicking their tongue, but it vanished as soon as I leaned over the tub. What I saw was the wild ginseng, cornered, thrashing about wildly while shaking itself like crazy. The ginseng's berries looked half-crushed, as if it had been kicked, and its roots were mangled as though someone had tried to squeeze the sap out of them. Save me, save me. The wild ginseng seemed completely drained, its berries' movement slowing. Let me go. Let you go. I reached into the tub with my gloved hand to examine the wild ginseng. It's not tied down or anything. Save. As I followed the ginseng's plea, I felt vibrations in my hand. Vibrations. Now that I thought about it, every time the wild ginseng spoke, I felt this kind of pulse in my hand. It wasn't odd, considering its voice was a form of vibration. But something did seem strange. Its roots aren't moving. Now that I thought about it, even in the field, only the leaves and berries moved when it spoke. The roots merely stretched out like infected tendrils. If that's the case, I instinctively grabbed the ginseng and plucked off its berries. At that moment, yes, the berries vibrated wildly before bouncing out of my hand. It seemed overjoyed as it spun in midair. Freedom, freedom, the tiger's jaws are gone, gone. Thank you, benefactor, thank you. The berries began to fade, its shape flickering until it turned into a glowing light, floating upward and eventually disappearing out the window. Was that the real body? Oh no, it escaped. What a shame. Phew. Such a lowly, deceitful creature, constantly changing its story, should never be given another chance. Is that so? Well, next time, let's make sure to agree on things beforehand. Even in moments requiring quick decision-making. If no one's life is at stake, yes. Understood, friend. It sounded a bit sulky, but at least I got a promise. Satisfied, I let it go. By the way, look at this. I've rejuvenated quite a bit. I looked back into the tub. There was the plush doll, now oddly shiny, soaking in the water. The once damp cotton stuffing now seemed to glisten for some reason. Oh, somehow it did look a bit more expensive now. Should I say it looked higher quality? He also seemed to have grown slightly, just as he claimed. It better not get any bigger. The whole point was that he was keychain-sized, so I could carry him around without drawing suspicion. A full-grown adult carrying a stuffed toy bigger than their hand, wherever he went would attract way too much attention. I already stood out enough at the company as it was. I'll think this through before letting him use the bloodbath tub again. Or better yet, I just go home before needing to deal with it again. You're right, you do look great. I carefully dried Braun with a hairdryer and wrapped him in a clean towel for safekeeping. When I returned to clean the tub, I noticed something surprising. The wild ginseng root is still here. I thought the wild ginseng would disappear along with its berries, but there it was, completely intact. In fact, it looked even better. The wild ginseng, which had been discolored as though contaminated, had regained its original ivory hue, now clean and pristine. It even smells kind of nice. It now exuded an aura of mystery, entirely opposite to its prior cursed nature. After some hesitation, I decided to keep it and placed it in my desk drawer. Who knows, it might come in handy someday. And with that, it's over. One more ordeal survived. I collapsed onto my bed with a thud. Wow, since entering this ghost story world, I felt like my lifespan had shortened by at least 20 years. I need to rack up points quickly and get out of here. The irony of having to actively tackle more ghost stories to achieve that was almost laughable. Mr. Roe dear. Act startled me again. My body and speech feel much more fluid now. Oh, but don't turn to look over here. I almost turned but stopped myself, fixing my head back onto the pillow. Braun chattered on. It seems we can now have conversations here without directly meeting eyes. Isn't that a delightfully shy method, frustrating yet oddly fascinating? Sure, talk all you want. You'll probably save my life again when I enter another ghost story, so. You seem quite tired. Have a good dream, my friend. I passed out as if fainting. It was a deep, refreshing sleep, washing away days of exhaustion, only to wake up to yet another problem. That same day in the afternoon, while Kim Solium was idly chatting about trivial matters with his superiors in D-Squad's office, a certain other employee closely connected to him was walking down the corridor. Section Chief Lee Byung-jin. Yes, it was that same section chief who had gone missing and been rescued by Kim Solium. Why, yes. The person who stopped him was one of the company's directors. It wasn't exactly a pleasant encounter for a regular employee, but Section Chief Lee forced a bright smile onto his face and politely shook hands. He had no choice. This man was the lifeline connecting him to the company's hierarchy, a direct link to A-Squad, and to the top of the terrifying and mysterious corporate food chain of this company. Director Ho. The director who had called him in the hallway smiled and asked, I heard you returned after being missing. Are you all right? Oh, yes, Director. Thanks to your concern, I'm perfectly fine and working hard to ensure the company's well-being. Hello. The director didn't comment on the obvious flattery. Instead, he spoke softly and calmly. You were lucky. Many who fall into the darkness never make it out. Oh, indeed, I was lucky to have been rescued. Rescued? Did you perhaps receive help from the Disaster Management Bureau? Though the director's tone remained unchanged, Lee Byung-jin flinched. This particular director was notoriously uncomfortable with, if not outright hostile toward, any government involvement. Cold sweat dripped down his back. And no, of course not. A company employee found me. Ah, I see. Yes, yes. Oh, it was a new hire from the field exploration team. A very capable individual, truly. That such praise could come from such a self-preserving man was shocking in itself. The director smiled and asked, What's their name? Oh, Kim Solium, a new hire in D-Squad, Kim Solium. For Lee Byung-jin, saying this took a surprising amount of courage. It was his way of repaying the person who saved his life. Director Ho might be intimidating, but he's a decent superior. As long as you didn't trigger any of his pet peeves, of course. He's a very promising recruit director, truly. And so, unbeknownst to Kim Solium, a connection was being established behind the scenes. Lee Byung-jin wiped his nose with his hand. Solium, when you find out later, you'll thank me. But no, that wasn't the case at all. In any case, this action by Lee Byung-jin ended up creating a significant butterfly effect. Oh yes, I'll have to remember that name. And just a few days later, something big occurred in the company. Specifically, within the field exploration team. Massive thanks to Gia for helping me out with the server. I really wouldn't have opened this without her out of procrastination. XD don't come in today, Ro. Just stay home. Huh. I stopped in my tracks on my way to work, having just received a call. It was from my direct superior, 15 minutes before I was supposed to clock in. I'll handle this as an on-site matter, so don't come to the office. I've already discussed this with Section Chief Lee Jae-hyun. Understood, but may I ask why? Well, that's just how it goes for field staff in this company. It's an issue with some darkness, darkness. I could hear Assistant Manager Yoon Hage letting out a long sigh, accompanied by the faint wailing of Supervisor Park Min-seong. It seemed like the rest of D-Squad had already clocked in. All the new hires are being excluded, not just you, so don't overthink it and stay home. What kind of darkness is it? Oh, if you're not directly involved, I can't tell you. Actually, it's better if you don't know. Could it be one of those, the kind where just knowing about it causes problems? Like the infamous informational contamination ghost stories. For example, hearing someone's nightmare only to start dreaming the same thing yourself, or a ghost that relentlessly pursues you until death once you know its name. The idea of something terrible happening just because I'm aware of it stems from humanity's shared primal fear. And if they're telling me not to come in because of it, it must be pretty serious. Still, judging by their tone, it sounded like they were more concerned about a new hire making a mistake than leaving a dying message, so it should be fine. Unless, of course, they were pretending to stay calm just to avoid causing me stress. Either way, I can't go to the office now. If they don't need me, forcing my way there would only cause trouble. That'd be a perfect recipe for disaster. I told them I understood and hung up. Guess I'll clean up the bloodbath tub today and skim through the wiki about 5 times. But just a few hours later. Kim Solium SSI. Yes. Report to work. What is this, some kind of problem dog training program? While I was still stunned, Chief Lizard continued speaking without missing a beat. Be at the main conference room of the 31st floor by 2 p.m. A conference room on a high floor I'd never even heard of before. Wait a moment. I was told not to come in this morning. Has the situation changed? Yes, one of the executives has specifically requested your presence. Excuse me. I'll see you at 2. Please spare me. You're here. At the elevator on the 31st floor, I ran into D-Squad's assistant manager Yoon Hage, who was anxiously crossing her arms. I lowered my voice and urgently asked her, "Has the situation changed?" "A bit, that insane bastard." And with that ominous comment, I was ushered into the conference room, my head spinning. "He's here, employee Kim Solium." You called him all the way to the conference room. Well, just send him directly. A group of superiors, whose exact affiliations I couldn't even guess, were sitting around talking. The moment they noticed me, they fell silent, exchanging glances. The eerie tension stiffened the back of my neck. Why is the office tension always the same, no matter where you are or what the setting? Eventually, their excitement led them to resume their discussion, and I finally figured out why I'd been singled out and summoned to this baffling situation. It was a classic, annoying reason. They're short-staffed. Look, it's confirmed to be a high-grade darkness, but there are civilian survivors. This could be a revolutionary case for sourcing high-quality materials. That's what I'm saying. So why are we having endless debates and more meetings about it? Honestly, Department Head Kang, we need to make bold investments. Who said we're against investing? But this isn't the kind of issue you can solve by throwing a few more rookies into the mix. This guy, seriously. Didn't I say we're short on manpower? Our research team's manager Quack says so. Manager Quack. I turned my head to see none other than Section Chief Quack Yikang of the research team, grinning while occupying a corner seat. The very mad scientist who had once thrown his own researcher subordinate into a theme park creepypasta. So his disciplinary action is over. Just looking at him gave me a headache. Isn't that right, Manager Quack? We need more people, don't we? That's right. It's obvious that we need to increase the number of personnel to deal with this darkness. Was that guy the consulting expert? I had a strong suspicion that this wasn't about a lack of personnel, but rather about wanting to see the fresh exploration results of a clueless new hire. In any case, guess I'm heading into this darkness today. And if I was being called in with such grandeur, the thought that this would be no ordinary mission sent chills down my spine. They mentioned it was a high-grade darkness with civilian survivors, didn't they? While quickly running through similar cases from in my head, I tried to calm myself. At least I came prepared. Just in case, I brought everything I could today. A full item package. Introductions are done, so you can leave now, everyone. Yes, understood. Assistant Manager Yoon gave a quick bow and left the conference room with me. God check. The moment the door closed, she muttered under her breath. How many more times do I have to watch these bean counters, who have never set foot into a darkness, puff up their chests about their so-called strategic solutions? This is why I can't quit smoking. Assistant Manager. What? It's not like they'd hear us over their own bickering. But I can hear you. Those who couldn't even pass the field exploration team orientation test, but climbed up the ladder using their connections and nepotism. Assistant Manager Yoon glanced around the conference room a few times, her face betraying desperation for one long drag of a cig, then let out a small sigh. Anyway, you heard right. We're going into a newly registered high-grade darkness now. So it's confirmed. Not just us, over 30 people have already gone in. Does that include Section Chief Lee and Supervisor Park? Yeah, they're already in. It's going to be dangerous, I won't lie to reassure you. But don't worry too much. You got us all out alive from that crazy quiz show, didn't you? We'll be fine. Understood. I adjusted the strap on my satchel, slinging it across my chest. Is that your gear? Yes, food and other supplies. Looks about a good size. Assistant Manager Yoon scanned my appearance a few times and asked. Nothing that would get flagged during security checks, right? No, ma'am. I made it past the front gate without issue. Though I felt like the cursed wild ginseng could have caused problems, I'm technically not carrying anything illegal, so it should be fine. Still, I wondered why D-Squad wasn't moving as a group today, leaving only the assistant manager behind. May I ask how the others entered? She pointed with her chin, her face expressionless. They disappeared the moment they read the manual. That's the kind of darkness this is. The moment you learn even a little about it, you're pulled in. Who? I haven't read it yet, so I could take you in myself. We'll read it together. Understood. Wow, this is actually going to drive me insane. It'll be fine. Neither of them are the type to die easily. Please don't say ominous lines like that. Let's just pretend I didn't hear that. I took a deep breath and accepted the manual Assistant Manager Yoon handed me. Reading this would mean entering the high-grade darkness. Let's mentally prepare. I read it all in one go. Plus. Greetings. You are currently viewing a manual summarizing information about our exhibition's previous visitors. Plus. Before proceeding, we would like to inform you that you have been invited to a very special exhibition. Plus. A chill ran down my spine. I'm screwed. My eyes squeezed shut. In my mind, a wiki page automatically flashed before me. == Dark Exploration Record / Ghost Story. Manor of the Blind. A ghost story featured in Daydream Inc. Identification code QTurwaB 666. Greetings, dear guest. This text was written to invite you to a marvelous exhibition. To ensure a smooth journey, once you've read this, no matter where you go, you will arrive at our exhibition. Visitation records indicate a total of up to 106 previous attendees in this document. Additionally, any attempts to record information about this ghost story are altered into the format of an invitation sent by the exhibition itself. It is an honor to extend this invitation. A prime example of an informational contamination ghost story registered in the kind of viral sensation on video platforms that draws hundreds of thousands of views. The eyeball collector. With a trembling heart, I looked back at the manual. There it was, the exact line I had expected to see. Plus. To ensure a smooth journey, once you've read this, no matter where you go, you will arrive at our exhibition. Plus. And just as it said, it happened. As I stepped back, I realized the texture of the floor beneath my feet had changed. From the matte office tiles to the glossy old marble. Thug. Slowly I raised my head. Before me stood a massive mansion, so silent I could hear the flickering of candle flames. The twilight and the glow of candles illuminated the grand, ancient interior in a reddish-golden hue. Numerous displays cast faint outlines in the shadows. Assistant manager Yoon Hage was nowhere to be seen. But I didn't do anything foolish, like call out for her. Instead, I slowly backed away. Then I hid in a corner. Seated behind a sofa, I opened the manual again with trembling hands. Plus. Here are some common reviews from 9 visitors of this exhibition, temporarily collected by Daydream Inc. Limited. 1. You can view rare and diverse collections never seen before. 2. Eating or drinking in the exhibition hall is prohibited. 3. Visitors are advised to maintain standard viewing etiquette. 4. It is extremely difficult to find the exit. The exhibition strongly requests a revision to the final review. The exhibition hall has all emergency exits properly marked. Anyone may stop viewing and leave the exhibition at any time they wish. Plus. This was likely true. The problem was that the anyone here didn't seem to include humans. People couldn't properly use the emergency exits or entrances in this place. An exhibition that so casually assumed its visitors weren't human. Humans of the modern era were merely accidental victims, swept into this massive nightmare and experiencing cosmic horror. It was a deeply unsettling creepypasta. Honestly, I never liked it. I couldn't even understand why it was so popular on platforms like WeTube. Friend. Goodness, Mr. Roe dear, are you hiding? Who knew I'd be this happy to have someone to talk to? I half pulled Braun out of my pocket. My, this is quite a fine place. Why not go out and take a look? This seems like a location worthy of being introduced to visitors. Go out there? No way. Oh my, may I ask why not? This appears to be an exhibition run by someone who knows how to extend a polite and comfortable invitation. That sounded exactly like something the host of that murderous quiz show would say to lure people in with postcards. I felt my head ache. Pressing my fingers to my eyes, I stood up from the sofa. It seems you've decided to explore. No. I just want to move somewhere else. I carefully examined the wall, searching for the source of the faint sound of air. Before long, I found what I was looking for. A ventilation duct hidden beneath a dark section of the wall, obscured by a massive vase, far from the reach of the candlelight. A vent. Quietly I climbed inside, leaving the lock unfastened and held my breath. This was the only temporary safe zone I could recall. From the 5th visitor record. A gentleman testified that he survived for over 5 days by crawling into a ventilation duct and licking the moisture from falling droplets. On the 6th day, an usher found him. We'd like to remind you that our exhibition is fully equipped with guest rooms for long-term visitors. Note, it is deeply regrettable, however we advise against staying in a guest room for the recorded 40th visit. Our exhibition prides itself on offering rooms that match the elegance of our collection and consistently maintains a high reputation. Why hide in this filthy place when there's a perfectly good sofa out there? I ignored the voice. I needed to plan my next steps. How do I get out? No, what baffled me more was why so many people were necessary for this ghost story in the first place. Having a large group enter didn't seem advantageous at all. Wait. Was this scattershot approach because they don't know enough? Maybe it was because this was still the early stages of exploration. In that case, wouldn't the earlier phases of this exploration be recorded in the... I pulled out my smartphone, dimmed the screen brightness to its lowest setting, and lay down to scroll quickly through the... And then... found it. From the 17th visitor record. This record documents an invitation extended by Daydream Inc. to 34 employees from the field exploration team. 7 of them returned home safely. This was it. I was now part of this record, one of the 34 people who had entered during the 17th iteration. And I was likely the 35th person. Only 7 made it back safely. I was about to cross-reference the manual and for more detailed information when... Creak. From a distance, I began to hear a sound. The slow, grinding noise of a moving machine. And then... why is it chasing us? Get away, get away. Screams accompanied by frantic footsteps. Thud, 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 creak, thud, rat-a-tat-tat, creak, thud. The sound of something pounding against the marble floor grew closer. Cold sweat trickled down my cheek. Help us, no, in-o-o-o-o. Let us out, what? The pounding of fleeing footsteps echoed louder. Joined by panicked cries, the sound was right on the verge of reaching me. At least 10 or more people seemed to be running. Behind them, a heavy mechanical noise pursued with deliberate, suffocating persistence. Screech. Thump. A drop of cold sweat fell from my chin. Maybe just one person. In the throes of extreme deliberation, I leaned out of the vent. Swiftly, I grabbed the back of one of the fleeing individuals and yanked them toward me. Practically lifting them into the air, I hauled them into the vent and forced them to crouch down with me. This space can fit one more person, just barely. If they were from the field exploration team, the odds of them being a liability were relatively low. Fortunately, the trembling person seemed to grasp the situation and immediately fell silent. They seemed quick-witted. Wait a second. Beeksahian, my roommate from the company dorm. Wearing a goat mask, Beeksahian swallowed hard as he crouched in the vent, staring straight at me. I had just saved this punk's life. A dark ventilation ducked inside a creepypasta. A situation where I had to hold my breath to escape terror. And to top it off, I just saved Beeksahian's life. Why you of all people? What's worse, he was now desperately avoiding my gaze. This wasn't like him at all. Wait a second. A sudden realization hit me. Watch out for serial killers. Was it because I'd been sending him serial killer alerts every day as a friendly reminder? He seemed a bit intimidated. Well, fair enough, it is creepy. Actually, this works out. In truth, that was partially intentional. I hadn't bothered to send those messages anonymously precisely to achieve this effect. Seems psycho, doesn't it? Exactly. Keep your distance, buddy. Given Beek Sahian's personality, which was clearly strong against the weak and weak against the strong, he'd likely choose to avoid me rather than use this opportunity to eliminate me. Which suits me just fine. The only issue was that, for now, we were stuck together in this vent. I held my breath. Thankfully, Beek Sahian was also quiet as a mouse. Outside, shadows of people who had failed to escape flickered faintly in the candlelight, shrouded in darkness. Kriyak thud. The machine came to a halt. In front of the shadows of people cornered at a dead end, something thin suddenly emerged. The silhouette of what looked like spider legs. And then silence. Then. Only the strange mechanical noise echoed. Whoosh! The spider-like silhouette stretched wide in front of the humans. Hiyak! Through the flickering shadows, 8 sharp and delicate appendages grasped a human torso. Save me, please save me, Thwack! One of the spider legs pierced into the gap in a human's head. Then, with a plop, it pulled something out of the head. Then, I already knew what it had taken. An eyeball. That was it. This was why this exhibition was called the Manor of the Blind. Numerous visitors testified to the ushers that they had lost body parts, most commonly their eyes, as the first part to go. The usher. Encountering that thing here meant having your eyes plucked out. If you met it again, you'd lose a limb, or perhaps your tongue or ears. Eventually, you'd end up blind, mute, and crawling helplessly through the dark exhibition hall, a slug-like, pitiful existence. The fact that this wasn't done all at once made it even more brutal. Ironically, it was because this exhibition was considerate, to the extent that it provided convenience without you needing to ask. For your convenience, sensory enhancement devices are always available for free rental. Currently supported devices: visual, olfactory, auditory, tactile, gustatory, sixth sense, panoramic vision. Kriyak. A spider leg-like silhouette elegantly and delicately approached the eyeless person. The shape attached to the end of the leg was briefly illuminated under the candlelight, casting a sharp shadow. A thin thread and needle. Fucking hell. I held my breath and waited for all the commotion to subside. Cold sweat poured from my body. A moment later. Thug. The machine's sound receded. The person who just lost their eyes began to stagger away, their footsteps uneven. Of all places, they moved toward this vent, their blood-soaked face briefly visible before disappearing from view. Their eyes had been replaced with camera lenses. Beek Sahian, crouching beside me, silently mouthed a curse. It wasn't hard to relate. With those lenses, you might be able to see for a few hours or maybe a day or two at most. But since it was a rental device, the functionality would gradually deteriorate, plunging them into greater terror. And the next time they encountered the usher, that device would be collected as well. It was a rental after all. I'm gonna go crazy. It felt like a prelude to even more horrifying things to come, making me instinctively squeeze my eyes shut. But I can't show fear. I can't let him see. Conscious of Beek Sahian beside me, I waited until everything went silent before climbing out of the duct. We can't stay here. We had to move quickly and escape. I'd organized the exploration records and the manual after splitting up with Beek Sahian. Thank you, sir. Suddenly, Beek Sahian addressed me politely. As if it were normal, he nodded slightly in a show of courtesy, much like the first time we met on the subway. And then subtly he began to edge away, clearly planning to run off. Then I'll be off. Wait. Beek Sahian stopped in his tracks. I asked. How long has it been since you entered? They don't want to answer. About 2 hours, I think. He'd entered quite a bit ahead of me. Since this wasn't a creepypasta that distorted the sense of time, it meant rookie Beak Sahian had been summoned early in the morning, just like I was. So my D-Squad superiors kept me out of the loop on purpose. For a moment I felt touched. The thought of finding my squadmates quickly and getting out motivated me. Chief Lizard would have probably made it into the final 7 survivors anyway. But I had to find the other D-Squad members soon. Though honestly, stepping out of the vent and looking at the hallway made me want to sigh. Wow, I have to search this entire place on my own. I'm gonna have to comb through every corner of this creepy mansion, while dodging that usher monster while looking for clues. No wonder they made a horror game based on this darkness. I'd never played it, but I'd seen clips on WeTube. While covering half the screen with my hand. As much as I didn't want to admit it, going with someone else even if he's got a personality defect seemed like the better choice. I turned to look at Beak Sahian. In the dark, Beak Sahian swallowed hard next to Kim Solium. Fucking hell. Of all people, why did it have to be this lunatic? Nothing had gone right ever since Sahian had gotten stuck with this guy as his dorm roommate. Just hearing the bastard spout insane remarks in that perpetually sarcastic tone, as if he'd never start trouble even if drunk. It made Sahian's head spin. Do I really have to stick with this guy? The other employees who entered with him seemed to have woken up scattered throughout the bizarre mansion. And the civilians he'd encountered earlier, well, they got obliterated. Still, was it better to wander around alone than to stick with this deranged nutjob? He was frantically weighing my options when Kim Solium suddenly spoke. You're using formal speech now, all of a sudden. Son of a bitch. Cold sweat trickled down Sahian's back. It was a highly urgent situation back then, so I accidentally slipped into casual speech, but now I think it's better if we speak politely to each other again. Kim Solium stared at Sahian for a moment, then replied nonchalantly. I see, understood. Yes. Should I run for it? Beak Sahian glanced at Kim Solium. He'd already heard all the absurd rumors about this guy. The field exploration team's monstrous rookie. I heard he cleared an A-rank darkness all by himself. He was almost scouted for the elite squad too, but he turned it down. Wow, I heard he even found a missing section chief. Is this guy really just a new hire? And he's had 2 manual revisions approved. Isn't this some kind of propaganda rookie to scam the regular staff? The rumors got so ridiculous that some even joked he was just company propaganda. But Beak Sahian didn't doubt the rumors. Isn't it just because he's a fucking lunatic? This guy's monster-like results probably just stemmed from his monster-like mindset, right? A mind so different from normal people's that he could come up with ideas no sane person would even inside these ghost stories. Beak Sahian, for all his self-centered pragmatism, felt a unique pressure from someone so damn unpredictable. The fear of the unknown. Honestly, if someone told me he himself was a ghost story, I'd believe it. Beak Sahian wiped away cold sweat. Still, he wanted information. At the very least, he could listen. Where are we headed? Judging by how that monster attacked people, this darkness seems to treat us as intruders. It doesn't. Sorry. This exhibition definitely treats us as guests. What the hell was he talking about now? Beak Sahian looked at Kim Solium, who continued speaking with unwavering confidence. That's why it collects fees. It only takes eyes. It's just charging admission fees. Didn't you read the manual? Of course he fucking did. That cursed, bizarre document contaminated by the exhibition's invitation. It's an invitation. People who are invited don't get treated as intruders. But it didn't mention anything about fees. Read it again, near the end of page 3. Sahian unfolded the paper. Plus. This exhibition is free for 1 hour, as part of our open-minded appreciation of art. Plus. Free for 1 hour implies that fees will either be collected or you'll be kicked out after that time. But instead of kicking you out of the venue, they take your eyes. That thing earlier, it's probably a staff member of this exhibition. It was disturbingly convincing. Without thinking, Sahian asked another question. Why do you think human eyes are considered the payment? Well, maybe because they're the most valuable part of the human body. Looks like the things we carry don't hold any value to them. Kim Solium shook his head expressionlessly. No idea. And no one caught up in this mess would know either. A chill ran down Sahian's back. In any case, sir, whoever's running this exhibition seems to believe that human body parts are the most valuable things we possess. I guess eyes are probably considered the most appropriate starting payment, so yeah. Eyes. Sahian had only one. He almost instinctively pressed a hand over his covered eye. He still remembered that day vividly. Kim Solium staring at him on the subway, casually lifting his answer key of an eye. The unnerving calmness, the calculated observation, waiting for Sahian to realize his own eye had been plucked pointlessly. That mocking gaze. This darkness takes eyes as payment, but what in the world had made this guy so disturbingly nonchalant? But Kim Solium was staring directly at him. You've slipped back into informal speech. 1. A chill ran down Sahian's spine. He forced himself to speak calmly, as he now dropped to casual speech for good. Fine, should we just keep it casual then? We're from the same batch after all, and we need to escape together. Don't wanna, Kim Solium answered back. For a moment, irritation flared, but Sahian forced a smile. Don't say that. You hid me in the vent earlier. Doesn't that mean you wanted to save me as a colleague? Nah, I just figured I could use you as bait if needed. Sahian gave up on manipulation and shifted to persuasion. Kim Solium seemed to have a good understanding of this horrifying exhibition ghost story. If we stick together, exploration will be easier, especially in a dark place like this. Not really. But for the sake of dopamine, sure, let's stick together. Having more people means more unpredictability. This demented fucker. Sahian was certain now. He had never encountered someone so blatantly deranged, even in his tumultuous life. Still, do you have to be this crazy to survive in this godforsaken company? Feeling a strange sense of defeat, he clenched his teeth under his black goat mask. Let's move. Kim Solium ignored Sahian's frozen expression and started walking. Then, out of nowhere, he said, Thanks, that's a relief. What? What was he thankful for? Before Sahian could question further, Kim Solium raised a hand to his mouth. Quiet, I'm talking to Braun. Sahian barely managed to force word out. Braun. Yeah. Kim Solium reached into his suit pocket and pulled something out, a cute, plush rabbit keychain. Braun saying hi to you right now. Sahian suddenly wanted to run far, far away. Of course, he couldn't have guessed that Braun was actually saying, Oh, greetings to you, Mr. Scapegoat, soon-to-be victim of the next room. Nor did he realize that Kim Solium was thinking this. Phew, having another person around makes this a bit less terrifying. The thought of wandering this place alone with Braun made him feel as scared as during the Changui incident. This was a good choice after all. Are you planning to search for another place like that vent earlier? Nope. Kim Solium gave Beek Sahian an incredulous look, as if staring at a truly ridiculous person. I'm looking for the exit. Why would I search for a vent? I mean, if you like vents so much, just stay in one. If you get caught, though, just pay the fee. Kim Solium knew exactly what kind of person Beek Sahian was. This guy, he's the kind of person you can't just let loose. He was someone who'd exploit any opening, just like how he had ruthlessly attacked someone during their first meeting without even batting an eyelid. Never forget that Beek Sahian's nickname in the was Viper, aka Venomous Snake. Never let your guard down. I'll act crazy too. Thus began the uncomfortable and uneasy darkness exploration of two certified lunatics. Note S. 1. About Beek Sahian's shifting speech levels. Sorry about this again, but I don't know a more effective way to differentiate other than sometimes adding "sir" if he goes up to the highest level. But since Solium's being so petty about pointing out Sahian's slips, it can get more obvious law right arrow curving left. TN, this has been the chapter that's made me laugh the most so far. El Mao step. I was quietly walking through an exhibition that plucked out human eyes. And next to me was someone who perfectly fit the human trash archetype in a horror story. I really wish Beek Sahian would just keep quiet and act like a human totem. On the way here, I'd seen horrifying shadows crawling on the floor a few times from a distance. Each time, I couldn't be more thankful to have someone with me. As long as I don't let my guard down, that's the key. Braun spoke to me in a tone that suggested he was amused. Mr. Roe dear, this fellow talks in such an interesting way. It's almost like he's someone else entirely. Do you hate it? Not at all. It's utterly fascinating. It's as though he's created a more exaggerated persona for the sake of a show. That's a fair point. So, is leaving this magnificent exhibition your ultimate goal? That's correct. And I've already made my escape plan. I'd confirmed that this exploration was recorded as the 17th entry in the, so I based my escape strategy on that case. I'd even decided which of my items to use. Though, but is it necessary to use the word escape? Wouldn't it be easier to just grab any staff member and ask them to guide you to the exit? They'd surely oblige politely. That's where the problem begins. The staff in this exhibition are machines. The kind with spider-like legs that swing ominously. And each machine only knows information about its designated area. Each area of this exhibition is equipped with an usher for the convenience of visitors. While some past visitors referred to these ushers as monsters, they are, in fact, vintage mithril automated kiosk steam dolls, a model from Imperial year 62627. Though their memory units are somewhat limited to information about their specific areas, they are historical and meaningful artistic artifacts. For the sake of a constructive viewing experience in our exhibition, we kindly request refraining from using derogatory terms. What this means is that if you want to ask about the exit, you must go to the area where the exit is located and talk to the staff there. And by the time you get there, if too much time has passed, you'll be charged the fee and turned into a grotesque human slug. Even identifying which area contains the exit is a monumental challenge to begin with. But there's a hint. I stopped walking. I had found what I was looking for. An elevator. Standing in front of me and Beek Sahian was an antique-style elevator, glowing faintly with brass tones. The elevator was caged in iron bars, and a small light bulb flickered in front of it. Like any elevator, a guide panel was attached to the wall beside it, displaying floor numbers and usage instructions. The only problem was that the text was written in a script we couldn't understand. Just one more way to raise the exploration difficulty. The disconnect created by the script. Beeksahian frowned. Are you planning to ride this thing? Dunno. We can't even check the floors. Are you out of your mind? I stared at him without a word. He quickly looked away. As if I'd do something that reckless. But I had Braun, the creepypasta talk show host who claimed to be fluent in every language. Braun, can you read this elevator's guide panel? That's hardly a difficult task, friend. Ahem. Braun cleared his throat and began explaining in a friendly voice. This elevator comes with a stationed usher who will press the button for your desired floor upon request. Quite a quaint and sophisticated service, isn't it? This meant that you couldn't use the elevator without meeting an usher, which also meant getting your eyes plucked out. Even knowing this, I swallowed involuntarily. Does it mention anything about the exit? Unfortunately, no. It mostly describes the floors and their exhibitions. Oh, and by the way, you're currently on the second floor. Ah, wait a moment. There's also a description of this mansion's history. This was information not included in the. Keep going. Of course, friend. This is the grand estate of a most noble and refined collector. Through their charitable spirit, they've dedicated this endless exhibition to sharing their art and philosophy. Furthermore, this historic mansion is composed of 7 floors above ground and 7,221 floors below ground. Wait. What? Below ground, 7,221 floors. That's correct. It seems they've been collecting for quite a long time. I froze. I already knew there was a basement. It wasn't described at first. The early exploration records of this ghost story detailed lucky escapes from the ground floors or the deaths of those who couldn't get out. Those records drew readers in, sparking popularity. As the records expanded and the world of the story grew, some explorer inevitably made a discovery. The 23rd record is a testimony left by a visitor who entered the basement floors via the elevator. The existence of the basement floors. From then on, records detailed people descending into the basement after failing to find a way out on the floors above ground. The relentless descent in search of an exit, down and further down, conveyed an overwhelming, chilling fear. At this point, the ghost story became categorized as cosmic horror. These exploration logs aimed to make readers feel suffocated and disoriented. In some records, explorers even gave up on escaping, descending further into madness as they ventured endlessly downward. This is testimony from a visitor who viewed the exhibit on B105. Employee 753, the unspeakable, dreadful things I cannot see are truly beautiful. Structures made of black square and humans black are black square-ing. Die for this purpose. No further records exist. Thank you for your meaningful feedback. We shall strive to improve exhibition management for an even more profound experience. The deeper you go, the more grotesque and incomprehensible the collection becomes. At some point, language fails to capture what is seen, leaving censored fragments and overwhelming blanks filled with terror. Thousands of unknowns lie down there. Slap. I slapped my own face. Get a grip. There are multiple exits. Even though their locations change every time the exhibition begins, that fact doesn't. There were records of people escaping through different exits on different floors in the same iteration. I can do this. It doesn't matter how astronomically vast this place is, or how incomprehensible the space becomes. An exit might be closer than I think. I have over 100 iterations worth of exploration data, including records from this very round. Sitting here overwhelmed would make me an idiot. Even if the exact floor isn't specified, I already know the hints. I had to move quickly, instead of being paralyzed by the scale of the ghost story. Don't be foolish, stay sharp. All right. I took a deep breath and began walking. To the staircase, next to the elevator. Wait, so you're not taking the elevator. How do you even know where you're going? We're at the second floor. I'm heading to basement 1 from here. Basement? There's a basement. Wait, this is the second floor. How can you be sure? Braun told me. Grateful, aren't you? No problem at all, happy to help. Surprisingly enough, Beak Sahian still didn't run away. I'll have to keep my interactions with him at this level moving forward. Even as we descended down the staircase, the grand mansion's decor didn't change at all. The dim brass lighting and shadowy atmosphere continued endlessly, making it feel like we were looping through the same floor. And then at one level below, the stairs disappeared entirely. These stairs don't lead to the basement. For now, since we're at the ground floor, I decided to search for a new staircase or another way to move. There was no more idle chatter with Beak Sahian either. The sound of machinery was growing more frequent around us. The main exhibition hall must be nearby, with ushers stationed almost constantly. Moving silently, practically crawling on the ground, I looked up and spotted a large sign just beneath the ceiling. Found it. The sign for the main exhibition hall. Carved with ornate designs, it bore a flowing, elegant inscription in an incomprehensible script. The Power of Emotion. What a unique title for an exhibit. It was an exhibit I'd read about in the. Just seeing its name in print had sent chills down my spine. What the hell? I suppressed the urge to turn back immediately. If I'm going to map out the escape route, I'll have to face it at least once. Avoiding a safe exhibit while trying to secure a path would be idiotic. So I gritted my teeth and moved forward, step by step. The moment I peeked through the ornate, gilded doorway into the exhibit, the exhibition space unfolded before me. A wave of sound crashed over me. Countless mouths shouting. More precisely, rows of teeth and tongues. An entire massive wall filled with ornate Baroque-style frames, each containing a human mouth, all arranged in horrifying beauty. It seemed like artificial voice boxes had been attached to the mouths, each reciting poetry in different voices and languages. The hundreds or even thousands of frames harmonized to create a bizarrely strange medley of sounds and notes. And beneath them, on the floor, human slugs were writhing. Huag. People who could no longer speak human words, with extinguished buttons fixed into their eye sockets, were writhing in agony. They were those who had been repeatedly charged, to the point where they'd nearly lost all semblance of humanity. The contrast between their grotesque forms and the neatly framed mouths displayed in a beautiful arrangement made the scene horrifying, more and more. I felt like vomiting. The dizzying dread made me look at the floor. Stay calm, I need to calm myself. They're not company employees. These were probably people who'd been trapped here for days. Those poor, no, I couldn't let myself focus on them now. I had to push it out of my mind as much as possible. Screech. In the distance, the shadow of an usher machine began approaching. Beak Sahian and I held our breath and crawled into a nearby vent. The usher machine's shadow moved among the human slugs, as if searching for unmoving bodies to pick up and carry away. The sound of dragging bodies mingled with the mechanical noise. After a suffocating few minutes, hey, They took the corpses. Do you think even the corpses have value as payment for the fee? What the hell is wrong with this punk? If they had value as payment, they wouldn't have just left them there alive until they died without collecting. Makes sense. Even in this situation, I had to listen to this kind of nonsense. My exhaustion was reaching its peak. And I had to lie too. If I were honest, of course they have value, obviously. Since they treat us as visitors, they only seem to charge for things that don't affect our survival, like eyes, noses, or mouths. But wouldn't they also find brains and spinal cords valuable? I think there were floors displaying such items too. But I couldn't tell this guy that. He'd probably suggest we carry around the corpses and offer them as payment if things got bad. While I remained silent, the usher machines disappeared, leaving the first floor's main exhibition hall empty. From various shadowy corners, people hiding under tables quickly emerged, whispered to one another, and scattered in different directions. All of them wore masks. Employees. Their masks and suits confirmed it. They were from our company's field exploration team, cautiously dodging the machines by sticking to areas outside their paths. Hey, what now? If you spot any rookies among them, let's bring them along. It's better to have one or two more people with us. Why? Beek Sahian looked at me as if I were asking something obvious. We need bait for when we run into a monster. This sick bastard, seriously. I tilted my head in mock confusion. We already have bait. What? You? Beek Sahian's face froze momentarily before relaxing again. Whatever, I'll bring someone else along to use as bait too. Great, just make sure to tell them you'll use them as bait. I told you, didn't I? I'm at least polite enough for that. Beek Sahian fell silent again, his expression one of exasperation. I was equally exasperated. This exhausting little shit. I miss you, Chief Lizard. I miss the straightforwardness of a taciturn colleague. But then, as I caught sight of a familiar figure darting out from behind a sofa at the edge of the exhibition hall, I froze in surprise. It was someone I recognized. And what are you? After a moment of hesitation, I climbed out of the vent. When I waved, the person also froze in shock before quickly lowering her voice. I mean Mr. Rodeer, is it okay if I call you that? Yes, Ms. Gorel. It was Go Yeonjun, the new hire who had fully supported my words during the subway incident, was standing there. Didn't she say he'd dropped out of medical school? Did you get sent in too, Mr. Rodeer? Anyway, I'm glad to see you're safe. Thank you. In any case, Go Yeonjun, who was now wearing the mask assigned to her, seemed much calmer than when I'd last met her, though there was some redness in her eyes. Has she already adapted to this? The fact that I could have a rational conversation in this insane situation was almost moving. Go Yeonjun glanced around warily and spoke in a whisper, lowering her voice as much as possible. There's a blocked window nearby, and I was thinking of trying to open it. Have you seen anything that could work as a lever on your way here? I don't think we're supposed to use the exhibits. You can't. Sorry, what do you mean? You're thinking of escaping through the window, aren't you? Would that be a problem? Yes, it would. This ghost story's exploration records mention window exactly once. Do you know what it says? The 19th record is a testimony from a visitor who attempted to pass through a window. However, due to credibility issues, it has been omitted. This exhibition does not have windows. It's a trap. I quickly made up a plausible reason. If you go out through the window, I have a feeling you'll physically leave the mansion, but not return to the real world. Go Yeonjun's face turned pale. You're right. This isn't reality, so finding a door that counts as a proper exit makes sense. I think so too. But we don't even know what floor we're on. I checked, we're on the first floor. How did you hold on, the first floor? A glimmer of hope lit up in Go Yeonjun's eyes. Then there's a good chance there's a door nearby. Exhibition entrances are usually on the first floor, so if we search thoroughly. I forced my reluctant mouth to speak. The reason doors are usually on the first floor is because we live on the ground level. That's... Do you think the original visitors to this ghost story did the same? Then Go Yeonjun closed her mouth. She understood immediately. How can you be sure a monster would place a door on the first floor? Soon, the same despair that had clouded my face earlier spread across hers. Then what do we do? Was asking the monster machine earlier the right answer, but I can't encounter another machine. I don't have any chances left. You don't have any chances left. Then Go Yeonjun hesitated before brushing her hair back slightly. Beneath her hair, where there should have been an ear, there was only a stitched scar. They took my ear. Then they kept saying, ear instead of eye, while gesturing, and I guess they accepted it. It didn't even hurt, it was so strange. Go Yeonjun shivered slightly. And they seem to have put something weird in its place, but I can still hear. I don't know how it works, maybe some kind of artificial cochlea or eardrum. Ah, damn it. It'll be fine, right? I mean, the employee store sells those organ regeneration potions and all. You'll be fine. I spoke firmly. You'll be fine, let's focus on getting out. Okay. Go Yeonjun's breathing calmed again. For someone who just lost an ear, her mental strength was superhuman. I couldn't help but admire her. But someone else apparently didn't feel the same way. Shall we get moving? Let's not waste too much time. Beek Sahian SSI. The moment Beek Sahian, wearing his goat mask, emerged from the vent, Go Yeonjun's eyes lit up with alarm. Wait, are you traveling with him? Somehow, yes. I see. Go Yeonjun glanced warily at Beek Sahian, but didn't refuse to continue traveling with me. Thank you. It had been so long since I'd had a normal companion. After dealing with psychopaths and people possessed by ghosts, I felt tears well up at the relief. Still, Go Yeonjun muttered quietly. That guy, he even managed to pick a mask that suits him. You know goats are a symbol of the devil in Western cultures, right? Wow, did you know lambs are a symbol of sacrifice? Lambs are more associated with helping humanity than with devils, though. Beek Sahian smirked dismissively at Go Yeonjun, who ignored him in turn. Is this an intermission skit? They're like a comedy duo. Yeah. Except it's not a skit. They're actually dissing each other, and that's the problem. This party composition feels doomed. But our destination was steadily drawing closer. I found it. At the end of the hallway, a staircase leading to the basement had appeared. TN. Sahian and Yeonjun's masks are both kinda goats, I guess. Here's the scientific name for both. Sahian capra hircus. The goat or the domestic goat is a species of goat antelope that is mostly kept as livestock. Yeonjun, Nemorhetus caudetus, gorals are small goat relatives, and they are agile over the rocky crags and cliffs they inhabit. The lamb comment earlier is, I'm assuming, stemming from how goats were referred to as sheep in the olden times, given that cotton wool sheep were introduced to the East much later. After these actual sheep were introduced, the existing sheep were hence distinguished and called goats or mountain goats. Until then, in the East, the term sheep referred to the current goat. So basically, our comedy duo is kind of doing the Spider-Man meme, calling each other scapegoat and sacrificial lamb law. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video and comment down if anything wrong in the story. And if have any suggestion to a new novel or want next part of any series, comment down. Our target is to get 1K subscriber. There will be SUPRISC for all of you. Stay tuned.